Welcome to our Cleancast today. Thanks for joining us. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about what I call the 5 key points that you should have in your BSC service agreement with your customers. Some of them are very common. Some you may have to think about a little bit. I want to make it very clear that I don't offer legal advice. I'm not an attorney. My point here is to point out some really key things that you need in the agreement, and then get legal advice to get the wording proper in your state, in your community. Number one, I suggest that you request a 90-day termination by either party can be given. If the, and somebody out there I know is saying, 90 days? Yeah, 90 days. You noticed I said I suggest you request a 90-day termination, and then if they balk at that, then you can start to negotiate. You can negotiate to 60, maybe 45. And, in worst case scenario, you get backed into a corner and you have to do 30. That's what you had when you went in there. So you're not worse off. You just didn't get everything you wanted. We always started at 90 and mostly settled on either 45 or 60. And, so if I hadn't started at 90, I'd be doing them all on 30 days. And again, I emphasize that our termination clause said by either party. Retail, we found, was particularly bad about this. They wanted to give us 90 days. We were to give them 90 days if we wanted out, and they could get out in 7. And that's one of the reasons I didn't do a lot of retail. I said, if we're going to have a true partnership, it works both ways. If you want out in 7, I can get out in 7. That wasn't always accepted real well. So anyway, keep in mind, ask for 90 and settle on whatever, 30, 60. I didn't settle many on 30. I had a lot of old contracts that were 30, old service agreements that were 30 before I got into the, you ought to do 90. And then I didn't go back and change the old ones. I just came out as we went forward. And I suggest number 2, that you make an agreement that is an evergreen agreement, meaning that it goes on forever, unless and until either party gives that 90-day written notice in writing. Yeah, I said that. This takes you out of the rebidding process. I know there's a lot of BSCs out there that write these agreements. The term of this shall become effective such and such date and shall remain in effect for 1 year. And what all that's doing is creating that customer, putting a little tag on, in his Outlook, writing up that, okay, this is the January 1, November 1, be sure and review cleaning contract for bids. And if it's an evergreen thing, it goes on forever, unless and until either party gives 90 days or whatever negotiated days you have in your deal. Now, as I said, it takes you out of the rebidding process. But let's take it one step further. I always suggest, and we had in our agreements, what I call a notice to cure clause. And what that is if there are deficiencies that would make the client really, really upset, they would send a 30-day notice to cure letter to me personally, and we had 30 days to take care of those deficiencies, or then if we hadn't, the 90-day cancellation clause would go into effect. So this gave us 120 days. One of the number one that helps you, some stuff happens, and sometimes you get into a hole, and I fully understand that. But one of the reasons that I really had put this in was that we were being plagued in 2 or 3 of our cities with buildings managers that we were working for that were turning over more rapidly than our cleaners were. And every one of them would come in and, well, they're going to get out of this. Your guys don't clean good, so I'm leaving. And so by implementing this, they had to tell me what it was I wasn't cleaning good. And then they had to give me 30 days to clean that up. And then if they didn't like it, they could give me the notice, or they'd have to give me another 30-day cure, or just forget it. And it saved some paperwork. Now, I will tell you that I received 2 of those in my days. Saved both of the accounts. In fact, one of them, I was living in Arizona at the time, and one of them was in the Midwest United States. And I got that in the afternoon. I got a registered letter in my office in Phoenix Market. I was on a plane that night. It happened to be 4 hours from my nearest office in the Midwest. I was up early in the morning, sitting in the man's office at 7:30 in the morning when he came in. And that did a lot for saving the account because he knew I was sincere. I ended up taking the manager that I had in charge of that account to lunch, buying his to go, and put a new manager in. Stayed with the account pretty personally for 30 days. And we got it so, I mean, it was, for us, it was a nice account, about $25,000 a month. So, I figured I could put an airplane ticket on there and save that thing. But I only got 2 of those. The other one I also saved, and it happened to also be a big manufacturing plant out in the middle of, wherever that might be. I mean, that you couldn't pronounce the name of the town. But we did both of them. We saved both of them. There's only 2 that we ever got. And so, although I want 0, I wasn't too displeased with only getting 2. But that's 2 of them. Number 3, always have the billing go out at the first of the month. Our business is all about cash flow, and the customer should understand you're going to have payrolls to meet before, too long. And so I always reminded them when I took the agreement in for signature. It was in the agreement that we would bill on the first of the month but I always reminded them as we went through and filled in the blanks for the finalization of the agreement before we started, would say, now you remember, Mrs. Smith or Mr. Jones, that we do bill the first of the month. And you may have a bill 3 days after we're here. I just want you to know. And some of them would say, well, I won't pay it till the end of the month. And that was okay with me. I said, that's fine. I just want you to know that's the system we're on. And you pay it when it fits the system, your system. And had most of my money by the 15th of the month, and so that we were in. So that was always a great cash flow, particularly if you're starting a new one and it's large. And if you're starting on the first of the month, let's say you pay every 2 weeks, and you don't bill till the end of the month. Now it's the end of the following month till you get a check, and you've had 2 or 3 payrolls in there, and another one on the way. And so the other thing that's happening a lot now is that, in fact, I've been kind of backtracking to make sure that it's happening in a lot of places, is that a lot of companies now are letting us bill either weekly or twice a month. And I've had 2 instances just recently where I've helped clients secure actually one of them was a weekly billing and the other one was twice a month. And they were the largest contracts that either one of them had ever had. And I mean like double what they got. And so they were concerned about cash flow as BSCs are. And I said, well, why don't we ask them for, in each case, whatever worked. We asked for specifically weekly in one, and like I said, specifically twice a month in the other. And the customer said, sure. And then, of course, there's also the credit card that you can take, if you want to do that. But you don't want to rule that out, that you can go on, because it's understandable for us to go to a client and say, Most companies pay twice a month or every other week, and we do two, so we'd like to bill you in that manner, invoice you rather. And if they say no, you're right where you were anyway, so what difference does it make? The fourth item is to spell out specifically what triggers price increases. You don't, some contractors put in there, we automatically do 4% a year or 2% a year. I chose never to do that. I wanted to have a price increase that meant something, and I wanted to be able to put in my agreement what triggered that, and then I wanted to go to see my customer and lay it out side by side as to what was causing the price increase. You put in there, our minimum wage increases, and they're running rampant all over the country now, and very few states are left that have the federal minimum wage. Most of them have in fact installed their own minimum wages in their own state. Some of them are running now $15 an hour in some states, and this is being recorded in 2017. Somebody reads this back in 2037 or 2047, they're going to say, how did people live on $15 an hour? We got to have this $48 we've got now. Anyway, so whether it's payroll taxes, workers' comp, general liability, all these things that are direct to payroll, and that's the way I usually sold it, is that about everything that we're going to have an increase in are going to be related to our payroll taxes. And then the other thing that I tried to include in the agreement was if I did any annuals in the first month or two, that if they canceled for any reason within the first year, they would pay the prorated amount. Learned that the hard way. I took over a 30,000 square foot white floor engineering building in my early year, maybe 1 year into business. And they said, well, we want you to strip and wax all of these floors the first month. So I did. And after the first month, of course, I don't remember what the bill was. I don't remember what I was billing them. I just know that I spent a lot more than that first month's bill. They said, we're going to cancel. I said, okay, well, we really wanted the floor stripped, and you did that. Bingo. They mistreated me, but from then on, I said, look, if I strip and wax your floors, clean your carpets, whatever it is, on the basis that we're having at least an annual agreement, if you cancel me 6 months for any reason down the road, you owe me half of what that portion would be for doing that. Don't think I ever had anybody say they wouldn't do that. But anyway, so here's the fifth one. And this one, I hear more and more from people that they never thought about. And so I want to be very clear on it. I suggest you put a paragraph in your agreement that outlines what happens in the event the customer steals your employees. And I probably get, I don't know, a couple calls a month anyway. Not a lot, but I do get a couple calls a month from BSCs who say, my client's taking my people. That's not fair. Well, it didn't say it was fair, but they're doing it anyway. Particularly if you're paying $8 and the client's paying $18 out in the factory somewhere. I can't blame my people for leaving. But, what I always suggest and what we had in ours, I created wording so something like this. I have a major investment in recruiting and training the staff that works at your facility. In the event that you want to hire them, you're perfectly welcome to do so. And we will invoice you at 15%. Some of them, by the way, use 25% of the annual wages of the employee hired. So it's not a penalty, but rather a recruiting and training fee. And basically what we would tell them then is if we hadn't done such a fine job finding and training and recruiting and training these people, you wouldn't want them. So we saved you a lot of money. We found you a good employee. So it ought to be worth that. So, if I'm paying $10 an hour and I got a 4-hour employee, that's what is that? 1,000 hours, 1,040 hours a year, and at $10 an hour, that's what's that? $10,400 a year that they would be making, and 15% of that's about $1,500. Like I said, several of my clients have bumped that to 25 because it's been rampant in their areas, and so they get 2,500. And you see, that's double if you're full time. Can you do it? Absolutely. Did I do it? Absolutely. Did I collect? Absolutely. In fact, I had a couple of manufacturing plants that would just call me up and say, Dick, we're going to take Al next week, send us a bill. And, or whatever. But I mean, it was that pretty much that done that way. And so, again, that goes back to we're in the people business. And so they, so that the clients take them. So what? We can get more for them. Remember when we had the podcast, the Cleancast, where we talked about we're in the people business. You should be getting these magnificent people and offer them as employees for temporary help. This is the same thing. You have gone out, you've advertised or referral or whatever, got the person in the door, you did the training, you did the orientation, you got them a great video from Consultants in Cleaning on how to handle customer relations around the customer, so that they've done such a good job that now the customer wants to hire them away from us, and that's fine. $10 an hour, it's a full-time employee in this case. They now have made 21,000 for the year. And so what we'll do is we'll send you a bill for 15% of 21,000, which is 3,000 and change. Okay? That's one that some people balk at. So anyway, those are the five key things I think should be in an agreement. Request a 90-day termination clause, make it an evergreen agreement, have the billing begin the first of the month, spell out specifically what triggers price increases, and number 5, then be sure that you put in what happens if they quote steal your employees. Give us a call if you got any questions. This is important stuff. Be sure to get legal advice before you put any of this into actual play. Thanks for watching us today. See you next time.